guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Today we are going to be doing something that I said I was going to do. However, I am pushing myself out of my comfort zone here. I don't like doing negative videos. I did a Fairy Loot unboxing and was it Abraxas? I did 2 unboxings a couple of months ago that I didn't upload because I had literally nothing nice to say really. It's either very meh responses to what was in the box, or it was downright negative. And if there are some positives in a video, I will generally upload it, but there were 2 videos that I filmed that I watched back and I was just like, I do not have anything positive to say in here, and I don't really like doing those kinds of videos. However, I've had a word with myself, and yes, that sounds like I'm crazy, but y'all know that I am. And personally, these are just my personal opinions of what was the worst and most disappointing books of this year. I am going to have a separate favourite middle grade, YA and adult books because I had to have them in separate videos because there were so many books that I absolutely loved this year. If you look at my ratio, I'll do my end of year stats at the end of the year. Probably gonna be one of my first videos of next year. Will be my end of year stats. In comparison, I've had way more 4 5 stars than 3 stars, 2 stars DNFs. But these are just the ones that I need to express that it was just me that didn't like them. I'm not hating on the authors. I'm not hating on kind of hating on the writing style a little bit, but again, no disrespect to anybody that loves these books or enjoyed these books, but they just weren't my cup of tea and they weren't for me. So now that I've prefaced with that massive disclaimer, I'm just gonna jump in to my worst and most disappointing books of 2021. First up is gonna be my most disappointing books. So there are a few on here. They have all been on hold now, so I will just put the image of the book next to me here. So I'm just reading off my list as well so I don't miss any. First one is A Forest of Moon and Sword by Amy Raphael. Now this was a book that could have been so good, and I was expecting it to be so good. There's a girl that goes on an adventure to save her mum, and it's all very, it feels like it's going to be very empowering, and it just fell flat. It could have, this I feel has suffered from excessive editing. You can tell when you read through this book that there's chunks that have been cut out. Although I don't like epically long travel scenes, and it is a middle grade book, so you don't want it to be too big and chunky. I feel like some vital things are being missed out, and it sort of spent the whole book her travelling to do this big epic thing, and then it was just really anticlimactic. I would have liked to spend more time getting to know the characters as well, because despite us following the main character from start to finish, we don't know very much about her. We didn't really get to know her. There wasn't any depth to the story, and it was just disappointing. It was a 3 stars. It was very okay. It wasn't a horrible story. The writing style was okay. It was just very okay. It's just forgettable as well. I can't remember the character's first name. I can't remember any of the characters' names because it was just quite forgettable and just underwhelming, really, which is such a horrible thing that I feel to say, but it was a very pretty cover and I wanted to keep it, but I haven't held it. So the next one that was disappointing was The Key to You and Me by J. Robin Brown, and I gave this 3 stars. So again, this was very okay. One of the characters was called Piper, I think one was called Cat. I don't know what it was about this, but I was expecting a lot more from the book. I was expecting a lot more sort of character development, and I didn't feel involved in the story. I tried to explain this, but it did it really badly. We've got one character that went to spend time with her grandma in the country, in a small town, to get away from a bad breakup. She is openly gay, living her best life. apart from the fact that she's had a breakup. And then you've got another girl who lives in a small town, is scared to come out, is confused about how she feels, and telling people how she feels. So that side of things I kind of liked to sort of explore. I just feel like in parts it was a bit rushed, in other parts it was very drawn out, it was very just one note. This was like a contemporary that I really was looking forward to reading, really wanted to enjoy, and it just didn't grip me, and I'm just really disappointed. Just disappointed. Not angry, just disappointed. The next book we've got is Camp by L.C. Rosen. This follows a boy who goes to a queer camp in America, and he every year is a theatre kid. He loves being outwardly camp. He loves, you know, drag race and, you know, all the what people might class as sort of femme, or, you know, he's into drama, and he took part in the theatre show that they did every year at this camp. But he's fallen in love with the jock, the mask guy, who only likes masked men, who wouldn't have even looked twice. I think he's called Rory. Is he called Rory? I can't remember. He wouldn't even look at him twice when he was a theatre kid. So he decides that this year he's going to come to camp. He's going to change everything about himself to please this jock guy that's never even noticed him before. And this is where I knew this was the premise going in. So I kind of, obviously we all know how contemporaries go. You know what I mean? But the main character, oh, annoying. So annoying. I loved the fact that his friends were trying to check him on his behaviour. The camp counsellors were trying to check him on his behaviour and saying to him, you know, it's about what's on the inside. And there's a moral to the story, which again, I like. He was annoying, pig-headed, didn't listen to his friends, effed things up. It felt a bit melodramatic. So he'd seen this guy at camp, never spoke to the guy, really interacted with the guy, and then all of a sudden he's in love with this guy and changing everything about himself. And yes, there's a moral to the story, which again, I like, but that grated on me so much. You know, I mean, not that that would justify it, but it's not like he said, I don't go for you because you're not masked, sort of thing. He'd fallen in love with this guy that he'd not really had interacted with, he just thought was good looking. That's why he loved him and why he wanted to change for him, because this guy was attractive. And that to me bugged me so much, and I just couldn't get past that, how annoying the main character was. He even changed his name, he even went by a different name, and I was just like, you know, if your friends are telling you that you're kind of taking it a bit too far, camp counsellors are saying, you know, just be yourself. I just don't understand. I just don't understand. And the end was just kind of like very meh. It was always very meh. So, yeah, there was that. Next we have Buffy Volume 3. So, this is a graphic novel, and thinking, how can a graphic novel disappoint you? Well, let me tell you, artwork. So, I know artwork is subjective, and this is sort of like a reboot of Buffy, and it's how the artists have interpreted the characters and etc. But for me, if I'm reading a Buffy graphic novel, I want the characters to look like the Buffy characters. And for me, a lot of the images, even in the volume 3, was just very strange. I think it was a different artist to the other volumes. And the characters, sometimes in the panels, just didn't look like Buffy, Willow and Xander. And even Giles, I think, in a couple of them looked a bit weird. So it just took me out of the story. And I did like where the story was going. It just going a different route to the series. And I want to carry on because I want to get to know the story a bit better. I'd like to see what happens in the rest of the story. But if the artwork continues in the same vein that it has, I probably won't be able to continue reading it, because it just takes you away from the story. Because I want to see Willow in graphic novel form. I don't want to see someone who looks like they've tried to look like Willow but just missed the mark. I just didn't like it. The next one is City of Rust. So this is disappointing because I read the back and I was like, oh my god, this is great. It has a robotic gecko in it. It has, basically it's a girl trying to save the day from a big sort of like rubbish bomb hitting, and it sounded so great. And I actually can't remember the main character's name. Do we have a theme here? We have a theme here. I can't remember these characters' names apart from the gecko called Ate. The rest of the characters are pretty forgettable, and I'm disappointed because it pitched it as this girl saving the world when the most interesting and well-developed character was a talking robotic gecko. That's all I need to say about that one. The story was okay, and you know, again, moral to the story, it was a bit of a feel-good feel near the end, but just didn't hit the mark for me. I've kept it because I really like the art style of it. That one I haven't on hold. It's somewhere on my middle grade shelf over there in the hallway. I've kept it because I like the artwork. I shouldn't really do that because, as you can see, shelves are stacking up with books and I don't really have space to be doing that, but it's an artist that I really like. So the next one that was disappointing was Northern Lights. I really want to like this, and I tried to read it once during Polathon, put it down. I think during Polathon I was just in the mood for comfort course and middle grades and stuck to that because it was like a readathon week. I did not like the main character in this, and once again her name has slipped my mind. What is her name? I can't remember her name. I'm so annoyed with myself. But she was just a very annoying child. Basically Northern Lights follows a girl who lives in a world where they have like these they're not demons, like little creature familiar type things. They're also like bonded to them in some way. I can't remember what they're called, and everything's just gone out of my brain. I didn't really feel a connection to her. And with me, I'm very character driven. I do love a good plot. Don't get me wrong, love a good plot. But if I can't get behind the characters, the plot means absolutely nothing to me at all. Even if it means I'm rooting for a villain or a morally grey character, I need to be able to get behind them in some way. Like, even though I shouldn't root for them, I kind of am. If it's to do with someone who's like a villain or morally grey, and it's like, should I like them? Shouldn't I like them? I do, but I don't think I should. Whereas this girl I just did not like. She was just very frustrating. It took me out of the story. The ending of the book as well was just kind of like, what? What? I don't understand. Why have you taken this turn? Why? For why? Philip Pullman. For why? Therefore, I probably will not continue with the series. Although my curiosity might get the better of me and I might have to get them on audiobook and listen to them just to find out what happens. Or maybe I might look up some spoiler reviews just to see what happens. I might do that because I kind of want to know how the story ends, but without having to put up with her for another 2 books. So might just look up a spoiler review. Now we're going to get on to books that I didn't like and the reasons for why. I am not lying to you when I tell you I have on hold this in the bin. I do not condone binning books, but I would not want to put anyone through this. I binned it. I read the first 2 pages of this and couldn't get into it. I felt like, oh, I don't know, somebody might have been a little bit tripped out when they wrote this. It was just really long sentences to like explain something that could have been explained in a couple of words. And then when I mentioned to Jane on her live that I was reading Give It to the Sea and read a couple of pages and couldn't get to it, she was like, just DNF it. And when she told me the premise, I'm going to spoil this now and tell you what it's about. So if you want to read Give It to the Sea and you haven't read it yet, or you just don't want to hear spoilers, just skip the next bit. Basically, Give It to the Sea, I read the premise. I didn't realise exactly what it was. Basically, Jade mentioned that there were these girls were sort of forced to breed, basically. They were basically bred and then literally given to the sea to be sacrificed after they'd created an heir against their will. And this is a woman that's supposed to be a feminist writer. No, I'm sorry, no. As soon as I heard that, like, that was not the premise it was written. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Why in the world would you write a book like that? It just wasn't for me. So I went in the bin. Battle Royale. Don't hate me. So, I tried to get into this book. I did. But there were too many POVs. I don't know if it's because I already saw the film and I knew what was going to happen. I knew how it ended. Maybe I just felt like it was just unnecessary for me to read. I don't know. But there was something about it. I couldn't really get behind any of the characters because I didn't know who was going to die, who was going to survive. I'm a very character-driven reader, so if I can't get to know the characters, I can't get behind the characters. Therefore, when they do die, I don't care. It was very much about this. I didn't care when the kids were getting killed off. So basically, if you don't know, Battle Royale is basically the Hunger Games before Hunger Games was a thing, but make it kids on an island in Japan. So these 40 odd kids were placed onto an island and basically had to kill each other until there was one person left. Why they did this, I don't know, but I thought it was fun doing it for shits and gigs. Apparently, maybe. I didn't mind the gore, didn't mind any of that. It was just, I did not care. I should care about kids dying. Did not care one iota. I think I got 80 odd pages in and just DNF'd it. So, I'm sorry for those who love the book. I just couldn't get behind it. Another one is Prodigy. There was a guy that I was friends with a few years ago. He brought out a book and being the sporty friend I was, I bought it. We lost touch and I was going through some old books last year. And I was just like, well, this year even. Sorry, I'm still in 2021, aren't we? Still in 2021. I was going through some books and I was like, oh, let's pick this up and try. I need to read some more indie authors and, you know, more on my backlist. It was a mistake. I read the back of the blurb. And I should have known from the blurb that he hasn't had a proofreader for the book. Because if someone had proofread the back of that book, they'd have realised that it did not make sense. But I pushed on. I tried to venture forth into the book that was Moon's Prodigy and could not. There are currently, well, last time I checked, no reviews on that book. I didn't want to fully review it. I don't think I did review it. Because I DNF'd it after, like, how many pages did I read? DNF'd it after 10 pages. The writing was clunky. Could have done with, I don't think the book was edited. I think it was just, it feels to me like a first draft that was just put together and just put out into the Amazon self-pubbed world. The descriptions of people made me feel slightly uncomfortable. I don't think that he was very sensitive in the way he described people. Okay. Pride and Premeditation. So this was a take on reimagining of Pride and Prejudice. So, again, names have flew out of mind, but it was about a girl who, again, premise sounded great. A woman who wanted to be a part of her dad's firm, and it was in a time where women just stayed at home and cooked, you know. It was one of those, and it was historical, and I thought, let's try and venture into historical because this sounds like a good book. And this girl hears about a murder and she's like, I'm gonna investigate this murder and solve this murder and prove to my father that I can do things as good as any man. Ain't nobody gonna tell me no different. I couldn't finish the book. I could not finish the book because how many pages did I get in? I got 184 pages into the book. So it was getting to a point in the book where I was struggling to suspend my disbelief anymore. It was, I do have a vlog somewhere of it if I remember. Again, this might be a bit spoilery, but I feel like if something could trigger you, you may need to know. There were no trigger warnings going into this, so I'm just going to preface that by saying that now. I think I did actually skip right to the end of this book and read how it finished. The male in the book was called, the love interest was Darcy, and he was a lawyer in another firm, also investigating said murder that his client was charged with, and they butted heads, obviously. It is what it is. Not gonna lie, I liked Darcy as a character. The main character was okay. She was a decent character. One thing, again, this is gonna have spoilers. One thing that happened was, I said this in my vlog, that if he touches her, there was a situation where this guy was forcing himself on her, and she was saying no. And then I said, if he touches her. Initially it was just kind of like no touching, like standing back and just being like, trying to like impose himself without invading a personal space. And then I said, if he touches her, I'm DNFing it. And he touched her, so I DNF'd it. Just wasn't a fan. And if that kind of situation, and also there was a comment made by the guy about her friend who was a person of colour, and just the way that it, again, I know it was of the time, it's historical fiction, I am well aware of this, however, wasn't a fan. Slightly uncomfortable, made me feel a bit like, because the classics were written in a time, like, I still wouldn't agree with it, but classics were written in that time. And I know that when you're referring to that time, there were certain ways of people speaking. Just couldn't get behind it, guys. Couldn't get behind it. Wasn't a fan. Nobbers. The guy was a nobber, and there were no trigger warnings, so nope. So The Stars and the Blackness Between Them by Jonada Petrus. I tried to read this. I got how many pages in? 10 pages into this book, and I just couldn't. I couldn't get along with the writing style. I have mentioned this before. I did try and get the audiobook for this, and I tried multiple times to restart this, different times a day, just to see if it was like just how I was feeling. I tried it a couple of weeks in a row. I couldn't, no matter how many times I restarted, I couldn't get past the first few pages. It follows two women, and one is from a country where her English is very broken English, and the way that you would talk if your English was broken English is the way that it was written, and I couldn't, it didn't flow for me. I couldn't, this is why I said I might have needed to listen to it, like read it audibly, because if I can hear it in the accent and I can listen to it, it doesn't matter if it's broken English, because I can still understand what they're saying. But trying to read broken English is so difficult. Took me out of the story. I'd reread pages. I just couldn't get there, and it would have taken me too long to finish it. So it does follow two perspectives. It was just the perspective of the girl who had broken English. I couldn't do it. It was just really difficult, and I just didn't like it. The Watcher by Ross Armstrong. Where do we start with this? It was supposed to be a thriller. It wasn't thrilling at all. Not 10 out of 10. Do not recommend. Where do we start? So this follows a girl. Again, I can't think of names. Why are names going out of my head today? It follows a woman who moves into an apartment with her husband, and, you know, as normal people do in an apartment building in America, she decides that she's going to people watch with her binoculars. But this one, for me, had so much potential to be creepy, because obviously it's like she's watching people and then she sees a murder. This is on the synopsis, by the way. She sees a murder of a woman that a couple of days prior she'd spoken to, she'd introduced herself to, they'd have conversation, and I was like, ooh. But then she went all rogue detective and decided to take it upon herself to investigate said murder. And this is probably going to be spoilery, so I can't really explain why I didn't like this book without giving spoilers. So if you want to read The Watcher by Ross Armstrong, and you do care about spoilers, please just exit this video now, or skip a couple minutes. Obviously I'm not going to tell you who done it, but just going to tell you a little bit about it, which could potentially be spoilers. So, I'm sure this is one where she meets up with a co-worker as well. She ends up like weirding people out. She just went rogue detective. And you just have to suspend your disbelief at this point. Because who in the right mind would go rogue detective when it comes to a murder? You'd be like, oh yeah. Especially when it was someone she met once. She suspected somebody because of the way he was acting when she was watching him out of her window with her binoculars. I was just like, what the fuck? And then it was just a bit of a mess. She was talking to you. It was told in like, what's it called? She was talking to you as the reader. She was breaking that wall. What's it called? I don't know the phraseology because she was talking to us like she was writing us a letter or writing to us because she's like, oh, you know what I'm like. So was it breaking the third wall, second wall, 25th wall? I don't know what wall she was breaking, but she was breaking that wall and she was talking to me, and I was disturbed by the fact that she was talking to me. And the one thing I will say, it was kind of like a countdown situation, and the climax was very predictable and meh. And I knew from probably a couple of chapters in, I kind of knew what the situation was with her. And then as soon as you meet the person who done it, I think even if you're not a thriller person, you'd know who it was. That for me was a fail. I like to be shocked, quelle surprise, and I just wasn't. I'm going to mention this once, very briefly, because it didn't get very far into it. House of Leaves. DNF'd. Was a fail. Just no. Too pretentious. Absolutely not. I went into this thinking that I would really enjoy this. I really got into contemporaries. I just read the Brown Sisters. I was on a roll. I was like, I'd read Seven Wonders, which was by two young people that did it as part of a third year project at university, and they published a book, and it was great. Loved it. I was like, ooh, I'm on a contemporary roll. Let's buy the Hating Game. And it was not good. The main character, annoying. This is a running theme. The main character did not like. She was up her own backside. Not a fan. And then when you find out the reason why, this is supposed to be an enemies to lovers situation, hence the Hating Game, you're like, oh my god, there must be some really deep reason as to why they hate each other. No. It is the most ridiculous reason why they dislike each other. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolute waste of my time. To be fair though, when I was reading the story, I was getting into it. I was kind of like, oh yeah, this is going to be okay. She's still very annoying, and if I was him, I'd also potentially want to distance myself from a person such as that. But he distanced himself for different reasons. I wouldn't necessarily want someone like that to be my friend, do you know what I mean? But I was just like, yeah, we could get past this, because he was kind of intriguing me a little bit. And then they just ruined it by giving me the most ridiculous reason as to why this whole competition, friends to enemies situation was going to occur to begin with. Just absolutely no. If you're going to give me an enemies to lovers situation, at least give me a good reason why they dislike each other to begin with. Ex-lovers. Great. It's a great one. It's a great one. Ex-best friends. I've been sent to murder you from another kingdom. Absolutely brilliant. I've been sent down from Earth to kill you because you are the devil. See where I'm going with this? See where I'm going with this? See where I'm going? Two more. Death Through His Way by Daniel Kraus. Where do I start? So this was supposed to be middle grade. Supposed to be being the operative word. Supposed to be. It wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was. I don't know what this was. I don't know what the target audience is. It follows some teddy bears that were thrown away, and they're trying to find out why they were thrown away, and ooh, I thought it'd be like some cute little middle grade where they go and try and find why they've been thrown away, and then they find their own at the end and everything's hunky-dory and fantabby-dozy. It was weird. I don't know, I would not give this to a child to read, ever. I'm not going to give spoilers for that one. If you want to read it, but I recommend you don't. The writing style was okay, but it was just, and to be fair, one of the teddies was actually quite funny, the way that they made the character, but it was just, didn't really have a specific audience. You couldn't really call it middle grade, but you couldn't call it YA. I don't really know what it was supposed to be. It was just a very nothing book. Like, it doesn't fit anywhere. It's just weird. It's just weird. If you've read it, you know. And then finally, I really wanted to like this book, but I just couldn't, and it was The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I am sorry to those people who love The Night Circus. I just didn't really care. I couldn't really, again, rooting for the characters. I need you to give me a character, develop that character, give me something about that person that is redeemable in some kind of way, or even if they are the villain of the story, give me a reason to root for them. I know it was supposed to be very whimsical, and you know, that's her style of writing, but Laini Taylor's whimsical and flowery writing. But Strange the Dreamer, Laszlo Strange, yes please, yes sir, that is the kind of writing that I want, you know. Get me to love a character. Just get me to love a character. Stop giving me these stories where I'm just like, I really don't care what happens to your characters. And any potential love interest between two characters that I don't care about, I'm not going to care about the love interest, am I? I'm not going to care about the love story. I don't care about the individual characters to begin with. And then they did this thing where they were saying like, you walk through the curtain of the night circus. I don't know what that is. But they went from having like following two different characters to then having a part of a chapter where it was just like, you do this and you do that, and I'm just like, nope, I close book and unhaul it is what I do. That was my worst and most disappointing of 2021. I don't know if I'm going to edit this and upload it, but we'll see if Edit Lisa has balls to do it. It is a very negative video, and I don't like being negativo. If you watch my videos, you can tell that I really don't like being negative. So, yeah, we shall see. We shall see what we shall see. But, until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. If you like my videos, if you like me, please don't judge me based on the fact that I reacted not well to these books. Just like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I will see you in my next video.